Alrighty, well, another story comes to mind, so I'm going to torture everybody with this one now. Um, in 1989, I was 21 years old, and I was working in a shoe warehouse. Only briefly, I didn't last there very long. But I was working for $5 an hour, which in 1989 you could live on that, but it wasn't a lot of money, but still you could live on it. And I did that in the spring of '89, I worked there for about 3 months in the late winter, early spring. And then I got fired anyway because my health was bad and I got really sick and they just fired me when I got sick. But anyway, we had this one supervisor there, and he was an immigrant, and he was half French and half English, so he spoke with a French and a British accent, both together, and he was also nearly deaf. And so he was very hard to understand, and of course it was really noisy in there because we had conveyor belts going and things banging and around and everything. Anyway, this guy, every morning he'd come over to me, and he'd talk to me for about 5 minutes, and he'd be pointing here and there and stuff, like he was telling me what he wanted me to do. He was a supervisor. And I'd just be standing there giving him a blank look because I couldn't understand anything. I literally couldn't understand anything he said, and it was kind of like, what? Like, I don't, what? Like, yeah, I couldn't understand him. Anyway, he'd get frustrated, and this is the only thing he ever said that I understood, and this would happen every morning. He'd start pushing me around. He'd start putting his hands into my chest and pushing me. Just really shoving me and getting up in my face and shoving me. And he would just yell, he'd roar in my face, he'd roar, "Go on, do it, now!" Just like that. "Go on, do it, now!" And that's the only thing he ever said that I could make out. Anyway, that happened every morning, Oh, I hated that job. It was actually a relief when they fired me. It really was. I just hated that place. And there were people that had worked in there for decades, and these people were just about dead. It was like you couldn't see any life in their eyes. The place had just sucked the souls right out of them, We had this one woman there who was kind of the second in command in the warehouse. And she was a little spitfire, a little red-haired woman, and mean. I mean mean. And she'd stand there and she'd dress you down and cuss you out, and she'd be giving you shit for something you hadn't done. And anyway, I remember one time she had me taking a mop and sweeping out under all the conveyor belts. And I was doing this one and I was halfway done it. And she went to the other end that I hadn't done yet, and she called me to come down. They were in a row, And she yelled at me to come down. "Fernie, get down here!" And she like that, and I go down there and she says, "What in the hell kind of a job are you doing? Look at this! Look at this!" And I said, "Well, I haven't got down here yet." I said, "I'm working on the other end right now." Well, she pointed to the one beside me and she said, "Well, see that? That's what it should look like, not like this." And I said, "Well, that's the one that I just finished, and I've just started on this one." And you could see she went, "Oh, all right then," and she went away. And after that, though, she was even more mean to me after that because I'd embarrassed her, But yeah, it was a tough place. I'll tell you, it was a really rough place to work. The work itself wasn't bad. I didn't mind the work, but just the people. And it was just really, it wasn't even the people I minded. There were a lot of good people working there. It was just the management I didn't like. But nobody liked them. Nobody liked the management there. They were just awful. Anyway, that's a story I remember anyway. So remember, if you're ever stuck and you don't know what to do, you're not sure what's expected of you, just remember one thing. Go on, do it now. There you go. There's advice from a former employer of mine, anyway. Consider yourself shoved in the chest and told to go on, do it now. All right. Anyway, I can laugh at it now. It wasn't funny at the time, but I can laugh at it now anyway. We'll talk to you later.